Kwan's journey to uncover her family's true purpose takes her deep into the deserts of Madrigal, and Soren obsesses over unfinished business. This is the Campfire Gaming Podcast reviews Halo, the TV series, Episode 7, Inheritance. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast reviews Halo, the TV series. My name is Rich and I will be your host for this week's episode. With me, of course, for the reviews of the Halo TV series is Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Doing pretty good. Is it too late to back out now?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Damn.
And then, welcoming back, Heather. Welcome back to the pod.
Thank you. Hello.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Are you excited as we are to talk about this episode? I'm just going to straight up say, well, first off, spoilers ahead, as always. Every week we cover massive amounts of spoilers for the Halo TV series, so if you haven't watched the show and you want to avoid spoilers, turn us off now and then listen to us after you're done watching the show. But yeah, so it was a Kwan episode.
We called it last week.
Yep, yeah, it was a Kwan episode. Let's discuss the Kwan episode. The best way that I could describe this episode, and I know that I'm like, me and Heather, we kind of we discussed this a little bit prior to this podcast, is that this episode felt like somebody, at least to me, it felt like somebody turning in their homework late, but to the wrong class.
Okay.
They turned their math homework into history class. That's what this episode felt like.
And I only slightly disagreed and said that it's like when you write a paper and then you go off on a tangent for like half a page because you're filling paper space. And then the teacher just kind of like circles it in their red pen and gives you the question mark and a 0 for that whole paragraph. They just don't even, they're like, what? That's how.
What is this? This has nothing to do with their paper.
Yeah. Exactly. It's.
So
I think I used hats as an example. Like if you like writing a paper on how to wear a hat, then you go off on like the different types of hats and which ones you like better and stuff like. It's like what? Why? Okay.
Yeah, you're writing a paper on like of mice and men, and then you somehow like derail all the way into talking about like I guess video games for that matter. You know, it's just like this episode felt so detached from the Halo TV series. Like the only reason we know that it was a Halo episode is that there was a title credits at the start.
Yeah. Well, we saw a little bit of a little cameo of the Chief.
Yes, he had a cameo in this episode.
And they did not waste his small little cameo in this episode.
With his helmet on.
They did take his helmet off, and even better, they took him out of his armor.
Yep.
After he was in his armor. And yeah, because let's take him out of his helmet and armor every chance we can. Makes no sense.
Yeah. So, yeah. Basically, funny enough, even with, almost a 45-minute episode, there really felt like there wasn't a whole lot to talk about.
There wasn't. Can we first, before we get too deep into this?
Yeah.
Do you guys have a drink with you?
Yes.
Can we pour one out? Can we pour one out for our homie Chevy Tahoe? Because I don't think he survived that blast. He was looking fly as hell in the episode, but then they blew up that little mining rig, and I just don't think he's gonna make it. So
they did park outside the gate, so it's possible that Chevy Tahoe is still out there.
We'll see. I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for him.
Yes. Yeah, so, a lot of stuff just felt super pointless. And what we're kind of referencing here is the fact that the Resistance thing is all basically over now. Towards the tail end of the episode, you have Kwan and Soren have linked back up. And then they basically get into a big firefight with Vishner. And then they just blow everybody up. Vishner, I guess, and a whole bunch of UNSC big coat goons, and then that was it. That's the end, I guess, of that whole insurrectionist sort of subplot that they were trying to do with Kwan is that like her whole motivation was to try and reignite this resistance, and then she really didn't need to reignite anything. It was just a really like a
She just
really ass backwards way to just to get her into the desert to talk to the desert Fremen. To basically the Walmart Fremen.
The Walmart Fremen.
Yeah. No, I mean she did ignite the rebellion in the sense that she blew up the gas or whatever it was.
Yes, she literally ignited it, yes.
Yep. But no, we can assume Venture's dead because in one scene he is getting engulfed by fire. So then we don't see him afterwards, but
unless that big coat of his is like really, really fireproof. We don't know.
Could be.
But what we do know is that this episode felt really pointless. At least to me, it felt really, really pointless.
Yeah. I mean, so the whole idea was Kwan is still chasing down whatever weird desert people Fremen thing that her dad saw, which again is kind of an awful way to start the episode. I know we've kind of nitpicked CGI and weird consistency stuff. For some of the CGI, as well, especially anytime there's 3 scenes in this episode where we see vehicles traveling, looks awful. Like the CGI doesn't match. I mean, the buggy didn't have a windshield. Right. Kwan didn't have glasses on. She's driving into a sand or dirt storm. It was insane. It was just like awful, and it was real shitty when you saw Venture in his beefed up Chevy Tahoe, and it was just it was really bad this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But then I mean, like who doesn't think through this stuff? She gets out of her buggy in the sandstorm, and then somehow magically gets taken from behind while she's out in the middle of nowhere, when you can still see visibility is at least 20, 15, 20 yards.
So, couple of problems I had with that, right? Sandstorms, you can't see anything in them. That's what makes them dangerous. That's why people die. Second off, she's got she pulls over and stops in the middle of the sandstorm. Also dangerous because you don't know how heavy those winds are. As far as she knows, that buggy is going to just roll over top of her, right?
Oh, we could only hope.
Yeah, we could only hope. Third off, she conveniently parks to then get kidnapped because, we got to let our kidnappers kidnap us, so we should just park and wait.
She conveniently parked right in front of the kidnappers.
Right. She stops to get out to look at the nothingness that she drove into. She seems interested in, I don't know, the particles flying around in the sandstorm. Yeah. She's interested in literally nothing, but trying to really sell that she's interested, or she hears something or whatever, and just gets out because, that's what I do when I'm on alert. I get out of the safe traveling vehicle and I step outside to get kidnapped. That whole scene, that whole thing was so, it was so forced. It was just cringy to me. I had so many problems with it.
It really feels like manatees are writing this show. It's just insane. They're just pushing a ball. Sandstorm, get out of vehicle, get captured. Cool.
Yep.
All right, we found them, boys and girls.
Perfect.
And this is all just a really silly way of just getting her to the discount Fremen village, just so that she can have I guess a vision quest.
Yeah.
She drinks she drinks the liquid. She drinks the
water of life.
Yeah, whatever it was, whatever the hell it was called. Who cares? It's water of life. And
that's from Dune as well.
Oh, okay, got it. She drinks it just to have some trippy visions of her getting the shit kicked out of her by Master Chief, and this is the 2-minute segment of the show where we actually get to see Master Chief.
Which also, by the way, proves that she should not be leading anything. She literally tries to punch him through his Spartan armor, and she tries to fire she tries to fire a gun, and she doesn't fire it at the places that are visibly soft, because that would be my best guess if I'm gonna try something as stupid as that, I guess. But she fires it directly at his armor, thinking that a regular bullet from this revolver is going to, or I don't remember if it was a revolver, but this regular gun, because clearly the Spartans die from regular bullets like that. She's like, oh yeah, I should try that, and she tries hitting him, and
this could have been a perfect moment to show that Kwan learns and listens just the tiniest bit. Because if we remember, episode 1, she has her AR pointed at Chief, and he takes his helmet off and says, "Don't shoot here, shoot up here." And then
I
we go to the
know.
Vision Quest here, and she doesn't remember shit.
She doesn't remember shit, and on top of that, she just looks sad. Like, it just looks sad to watch this. Like, it was terrible, and it proves even more that, like, they're trying to shoehorn somebody who clearly can't do the job into the job. My guess is to say that, oh, well, she actually learns how to lead and fight and do all these things. But you'd think that...
Well, her
like,
learning to fight and lead is literally just, you're the chosen one,
Yeah.
right? She
She's
gets
just-
to the well, which is what the desert Bene Gesserit are protecting or whatever, and then her dead ancestors come and they're like, "You're the next one up. You're the leader," you know?
Yeah, but that's just like for the leading thing. That's not fighting. Like, she proved she can't fight. She's proved in episode 1 she can't fight. She's proved that when she was with Soren she can't fight. She's proved when she almost got killed by the assassins that she can't fight. She has now proved here that she cannot even fight a vision of Master Chief. Like, she clearly does not know how to fight, yet she's supposed to lead a fight. Like, there's a difference between, like, being a manager and, like, watching things happen and actually doing the work.
Mhm.
Usually, if you get managerial staff, you've done the work before. She's just skipping over that and is just gonna be the supervisor here. Like,
yeah.
And so, like, that's the other thing too. Is like they're invalidating their own thing by taking 5 ever to even show that she has some ability to fight. You'd think that if her dad has all this military background and that she's been around all these soldiers, that he's, you know, taught her, especially if she's in the resistance, she's taught her how to kind of, at least the basics, right? You would think.
Well,
you would hope.
No, but she wouldn't. And the reason that's like, they explain that at the beginning of the episode where they have that silly flashback of going back to Kwan hanging around the dinner table and being an absolute asshole to the person coming to the guest in her house. Like, where she clearly has no interest in the resistance at all. And so they're gathered around that dinner table. The resistance kid comes in and he sits down next to her, and she's just being a complete asshole to him. And that, you know, all the resistance is pointless. And then she gets up and storms, you know, she has a good storm off away from the dinner table, and then I guess thinks about what she just said. And
I don't know about you guys, but these are qualities I look for in a leader.
Exactly.
Honestly, same.
Storming off, hissy fits,
throwing tantrums, being just constantly filled with rage.
Yeah. Not able to do the job you're asking others to do.
Yeah.
If you have any of these qualities, we're looking for you for the podcast. Feel free to send your resumes to us. So.
And so it's like all of this vision crap stuff is just to show that she, like, the reason she's now chosen is because she just didn't stop getting killed by Master Chief after realizing that she could respawn. Like,
but so, like, this is the other thing too, though, is that, like, the thing I was gonna bring up though is that, so if her dad, you know, went to see these discount Fremen, right? Like, and he's been spending his life, we know before then he was a part of the resistance, so we know that, you know, or at least we can safely assume that the resistance isn't new, right? Like, you don't just go, you know what, I'm going to resist today. War started, right? Like, there's some lead up to it. So this has been going on for a while. So you had to imagine that she's got some sort of indoctrination into it to some degree. Like, you know, anecdotally, I can say, like, some of my dad's interests or some of my mom's interests, I've grown up with them being part of my life, whether I want them to be my interests or not. Like, they've grown up as I've grown up with these at least the knowledge on how to do them or how to use them or whatever. Like, I can imagine that, you know, as a resistance member, she might have some idea on how to resist, right? Like, but she's not proving that.
And that's what she was doing, is that she was trying to resist the imposing presence of the Master Chief, which is why she kept trying to fight him.
And I'm saying, like, the fighting is the thing that she should be known. She should know about.
Well,
Like,
Well,
I
yeah, I
would
mean,
imagine that your dad would give you self-defense if you're worried about, some government agency coming to kill you, right? You're going to teach your children how to defend themselves against said government agency that's going to kill you, or any agency or any individuals that are going to kill you.
yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, she had no interest in the resistance leading up
That's what I'm
to
saying.
her
Like,
dad dying. Like, I
that's what
guess
I'm
after
saying.
her
Like,
dad
even
dying
before
is,
then.
well, who knows? Yeah, I mean, like we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what went all the way back to her upbringing. And personally, I don't care. I don't care about this character at all. This is the biggest waste of time of an episode that we have had this entire series. There has been nothing that has felt as little like Halo as this episode. And the only I'm going to be so pissed off over the next couple of episodes, I think, because the only reason that they shoehorned in Kwan and Madrigal and the stupid resistance was all to lead up to this one moment where all you see is that they have this sort of legacy in the Ha family, that they have to pass down this, what they call a quote, portal to somewhere. And you see a slight glimpse of her dad talking to something in a well that looks vaguely like a monitor from a Halo ring. I'm going to be so pissed if that's literally the only reason that Kwan is even in the show, is just they have a tie-in to get somebody to the Halo ring via portal on Madrigal. So stupid.
it's going to be real bad too when the season 9 credits roll and they didn't get to the Halo by random slip space jump, that Cortana just put in to get out of, Reach getting glassed. They're just going to go back to Madrigal and take the sweet tunnel portal to Halo, and that's how you get into onto the Halo.
Can
Mm-hmm.
do you one better. They spend the season one credits. They go to the portal. Next season, they go
Oh
through said
God.
portal.
Yeah, and then they have like a whole facility set up like in the Doom movie, not Doom Doom, where that shoots them up to Mars or whatever.
Yep.
Be some shitty thing like that. Yeah, I like that. Oh, that'd be pretty cool. And then they shoot up to Halo, and then all hell breaks loose, and we just get a Halo and Doom. That would be pretty cool. Paramount, if you're listening, we're fixing your show. It's already not Halo. Let's make it
Yeah, just
more
make it
not
even
Make
less
it
Halo.
like
less
Halo.
Halo.
You know
Yeah,
what I want to do? I want to see Doom Guy's ass cheeks too.
I
Let's
mean,
just
who
have a
wouldn't?
side by side comparison to see who has better ass cheeks, Master Chief or the Doom Guy. That'd be a good battle of the ages, I think.
Who's your Doom guy?
I don't know.
Are we bringing in?
Carl
Yeah,
Urban.
Carl Urban.
We'll just
Yeah,
bring Carl Urban back.
do
All
it.
I'm
right.
sure he'll do it.
Do it. Now, I mean, to the point too of this whole legacy thing with the Ha family is really annoying. It really feels like they're very, very poorly. We'll see how it goes. Kind of shoehorning in this weird 343 started it with Halo 4. This whole like librarian and didact and forerunner and my librarian cultivating like generations of people to with some like gene song, something I forget what they call it, just to come to in the Halo games Master Chief, and he's being whatever the savior and taking on the mantle of responsibility and all that bullshit, right? Which I don't think was awful in Halo. I know a lot of people are not a huge fan of that, but this just seems
Yeah.
like in the TV show so far really shitty way of kind of putting that into the show of like, well, here's a guardian of a portal, some humans. You kind of got that with what were they? Chakas and what was his name? Riser, I think it was, and then Born Stellar Makes Eternal, I think. Sorry, this is some Forerunner trilogy book where you get some other characters that are doing important things in the Halo universe, but back in the Forerunner age, where the librarian was kind of grooming them to be important. And if I remember correctly, Chakas ends up becoming 343 Guilty Spark. There's some deep lore hit for all you nerds
Wow.
out there.
Wow.
Yeah, but like again, this seems like a very poor and shitty way of bringing that into the TV show. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was never a big fan of that stuff. From the little bit of it that I got from Halo 4, I never liked that librarian like super ancient forerunner stuff that's like, oh yes, I planted the seeds that led into the eventuality that became you, and it's like, how would you know that? Like
Yeah,
that's so absolutely ridiculous that you would be able to figure that out. Not to mention, I felt like that really cheapened the Master Chief. That it's like, well, Master Chief was never just that good. It's that the librarian made him
yeah,
that good, and it's like that's
no,
so bullshit. Like that's lame.
hmm yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of like what they're doing with Kwan Ha. She's like in kind of comparing to the storyline with Halo 4, and like she's the one he planted it. She planted the seed. She's the guardian that's going to lead the savior or whatever, the Master Chief, to the portal and all that fun shit. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is just absolutely ridiculous if that's really what they're going for. Like, and that's the thing. Kwan Ha is not even a likable character. Like, doesn't even matter how ancestral her how much her legacy is playing into how awesome she is. I will not
yeah,
like Kwan Ha because she is a brat. She is.
question for you guys, both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not counting our boy Chevy Tahoe and Pointy Elite, name one likable character on this show.
Vanek,
Oh, I should have left him out too.
Yep.
because he's the chief.
But
Well, these are
if
the best.
if you leave out Vanek, I still like the guy that's supposed to be a Jekyll.
Oh, Reth? Yeah, your boy Reth was
Yeah,
in this episode. Yeah.
yeah, he was. He was.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I think he plays that well, and so I'll take it. I'll take him as likable.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so my point here is, I was thinking about this. I have it somewhere in my notes here. Like, really, like they bring these characters. I mean, even Soren, who I liked in the second episode, unfortunately got pulled into the Kwan story, and then just
Mm-hmm.
she dragged him down with her
Right.
story. But like nobody in this show that's kind of a mainish character, not somebody, Vanek or Pointy Elite, right, who doesn't get a lot of screen time. Nobody's really likable. Halsey, Parangoski, Miranda, Chief, Kai. I could go on and would name everybody in the show, but like, there's not really anybody, and they're always fighting with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes completely no sense. There was a
Well,
scene
that
here we get a little bit of Soren, more of Soren in this episode because he went back to the rubble after obviously Kwan spared his life from episode, I guess it was 5, but like they introduced a squirrel character and instantly it's like he's at odds with Soren. They're supposed to be best buds, and they're what is it? It was
business partners.
business partners. But instantly we're introduced to this character and he hates Soren and they get into an argument and there's nothing likable about him. And it was also that whole like, you just brought this guy in to add more drama to the show.
Right, we need
Right?
more fights.
Yeah.
Stat, get more characters.
I will
Let's
say
add a
this.
character and they're going to fight with somebody. Who is it?
Mhm.
Right?
I will say this though. That is actually why I actually like Kai. With the exception of like the massive plot shields that she has, I like Kai because she's actually not super combative with everybody. Like she's
Yeah.
actually kind of friendly. Like when she was talking with Miranda and she was like, wow, that must be like really hard for you. I'm like, holy shit, she actually is
Mhm.
human. Like that's something an actual person would say. I'm like, okay, like I don't mind it. Like, she asks goofy questions and she's kind of curious about the world in her own right. And I think that gives her some nice depth, that adds some nice depth to her. So like honestly, I think, yeah, with the exception of Vanek, I do like Kai, and I mean we haven't seen hardly anything out of the other Spartan lady, Riz.
Yeah.
Riz.
Riz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
we
so
haven't really
weird.
seen much out of her to really like or dislike. But so
Yeah,
far,
that's
yeah, like
fair.
the Spartan team has been actually pretty cool. Like they've been pretty cool, and I think I said this last week is that like if there was to be anything that would come out of this series that I wish was canon, it would be Vanek. I think Vanek would have been awesome to have in the
Yeah.
game.
I mean, I agree. I agree with that. I will say I do still kind of like Soren. I think we had one episode where I was like, "What?" It's where we're talking about he's just the pirate, but you've heard of me. That one,
Yeah.
like,
He's Jack Sparrow.
But
Yeah.
you have
yeah,
heard.
like bad writing aside, like I actually kind of like Soren. I think the writing sends him with the unfortunate task of matching him with Kwan, so that makes him hard to like, because you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
ugh, if he's here, that means more Kwan, that means I
Right.
hate this, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, I actually kind of like him minus the bad writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, imagine like, you know, the Kwan plot really didn't exist, but he got a lot more screen time with Master Chief. You know, like that'd be actually really, really cool. Like,
Yeah.
because he does have a great personality. Like, he does have a very likable personality. Because he
Yeah.
is that kind of like
Dave
cool
Chappelle.
Spartan. Yeah, he's got that roguish figure
Dan
to him.
Chappelle, his
Yeah,
brother.
it's
Yeah.
it's Space Dave Chappelle.
No, I completely agree with you, because once three's in episode 3, I can't talk apparently. Episode 3 and on, when he really got pulled into Quan's stories, when he became kind of unlikable.
Right.
And I think
Because
if
he's
he
just kind of running
if
around doing shit that it doesn't seem like he would really have any vested interest
Right,
into. He's
he's
just there
filling
to
time for
support
the Kwan
Quan.
plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, he promised Chief to keep her safe, so he's
Which
got to hold his.
I think that's just like the bad writing, right? Because like
Yeah.
in reality, like we talked about this before, like we don't understand why he has an allegiance to him if
Yeah.
Chief literally almost got him killed.
Yeah.
Because he shortened the amount of time for his escape, and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, like the whole backstory there. Like I don't know why that allegiance is there. And frankly, like I think him selling out is part of them kind of trying to retcon that, going, this doesn't maybe make a whole lot of sense, so I guess he got paid and he's out, like
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
I agree.
I was
with
just gonna
you.
say I agree. If they can get him away from Quan, I think he'd be a much more interesting character, and
Mhm.
hopefully they do that if they continue to keep him in the show.
Right. I mean, because he doesn't like the nice thing about it is that he does offer that sort of like counter perspective, which I actually think would have been really, really cool had they not gone with the whole idea that the pellet is trying to suppress their like their
Mm-hmm.
feelings of how they feel about the UNSC and their jobs and things like that. I feel like that would have been a really, really cool dynamic if they had not
Yeah.
gone with that, and that instead they present Soren as a character to kind of push back on Chief's sort of ideology of like duty comes first sort of mentality. I think that would have been really, really cool, but
Mm-hmm.
c'est la vie, what are you going to do? Like, this writing, yeah, is absolute dog shit. The only reason Soren's in the show is to further Kwan's plot, which is, I guess, to further the fact that Madrigal is important, which is just a shoehorned way to get to a Halo ring. I don't know why they couldn't have just they might as well have just followed the canon, because it would have made a lot more sense than what they're trying to do here.
True.
They might as well have just
Yeah.
followed the game storyline. It just didn't
Matt,
make a lot of
question
sense.
for you. So we talked about that pellet just now. Like in the books, what do they use? Like, how do they separate themselves? Because in my mind, I would have thought that if they're augmented and they're bred to be super soldiers and all that kind of stuff, like I would imagine that that's already kind of built in, if you will. Like they didn't need a pellet. So like, what do they do in the book?
They use this weird kind of mind control-y thing called honesty. I know it's a new concept to people. They basically come out to the 6-year-olds and say, give them an option. I don't remember in the books if any of them actually did leave, but that was Rich and I talked about this before, where it's popped up on the Halo Reddit, where there's an excerpt from the book where Halsey and I forget if it was Cortana or Daya or whatever AI,
It's
and
like Deja or however you say it.
Deja or something, yeah. And they're like, hey, should we go the route of using chemicals and drugs and things to suppress their memories? And they're like, no, because exactly what we're getting in the show, if they ever start finding out, we don't know what the consequences will be. And we're seeing in the show that they're like, oh shit. But as far as like the kids, I mean, yeah, you could argue they're 6-year-olds, so who they're probably not have the best judgment. But when they're told like, hey, we brought you in to be like humanity's next defense, you're going to be like our super soldiers, and they're all like, cool, let's do it. Right? There was, I think, they were all mischievous and crafty little kids, smart and very athletic. That Halsey kidnapped the best of the best, right? And I think there was, I think if I remember, it's Gray Team. They were always a group of 3, or I think it was 3. 3 or 4. I don't remember. I think it's 3 that would always kind of like escape, but that was kind of the challenge of it, right? The whole training of the Spartan program was getting these kids to kind of beat, certain, tasks and outsmart all these, there was a point when they got into their young teens where they're just freaking like outsmarting the shit out of the Marines that are trying to train them, right? So,
So
yeah,
I think I indirectly got the answer to my question because I remember that conversation. My question was more like, so in the
yeah.
show we have the pellet, right? In the
I don't
books,
I
what
don't
is
like
their
short
what is
answers, by
their
the way.
concentration, right? Like the reason they have the pellet is to, clear their mind for combat, right?
Yeah.
So I think what you were saying is basically what I was thinking here is that, they just basically trained them into that concentration. Like they're still human beings,
Yeah.
right?
Again, there's
But
they're definitely indoctrinated, right? Because
sure.
from they're 6-year-olds, you can easily meld their mind to whatever you want them to believe in a way, right? But yeah, no.
Right.
Well, that and
But
I
we
think
talked about likable characters and we talked about like the pellet, and that's what I'm trying to put together. Sorry,
Yeah.
okay,
Rich.
yeah. So what I was gonna say is that one of the things that also happened is that the augmentation process also screwed with their personalities a lot too, and that's one of the reasons why they end up bringing up the. I think that's why they end up bringing up the AIs as well, is to kind of help them be a little less antisocial. Because that was one of the things I think that they talk about in Halo 4 is that old Spartan program, while it was very, very effective, it caused a lot of like psychological damage
Hmm.
to the people who were behind that. And yes, it did kind of
If
rob them of a bit of personality, which is why
if
Master
you
Chief is kind of just a stonewall. But
but that was like
Right.
if you were somebody outside the Spartan group, right? The Spartans themselves were, honestly, it's kind of like me, right? With
yes,
around friends, I'm super
right.
social. I'm super talkative. You put me in a group of people I barely know, I'm going to be that awkward guy that's sitting there just like listening, and whatever, not really talking. That was kind of the same thing with the Spartans, right? They're all friendly and chitter chatter with each other, making jokes. They have their own little inside, uh, you know, whatever hand gestures and this and that, right? So they like literally the Spartans all knew each other so well, they especially like in the Spartan armor, like just by the way somebody's walking, some of the mannerisms that they use, it's like, oh, that's because unlike the show and the games, early Spartans had all the same armor, so you couldn't tell which was which. So
Right.
but yeah, I mean the augmentation process, yeah, definitely kind of messed with some of them. Now most of those I would say kind of like washed out of the program in the sense that they were usually put somewhere else, kind of like Soren in the books got put at like a desk job, right? Because he was still wicked smart and really good, and he was just going to kind of help with like Spartan deployments and things like that or whatever. But then any sympathizer got in his ear, and then he kind of ran away, right? But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just
That so long story
sorry,
short,
sorry.
yes,
You
that
you
they
keep
did
asking
have.
me these questions, and I can't give short answers, obviously.
Yeah. So by and large, yeah, we did see that, you know, uh honestly, I don't really know where to go from there.
Yeah,
Well,
we
like I said, I was
we
just
have
trying
we
to.
have taken the track and we have gone way off the
yeah,
rails.
yeah.
That's something that we kind of just went on our own here. My thought was like we were talking about likable characters, right?
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
we brought up Kai, and we brought up that pellet, and so that's what I'm trying to understand was like in the book, like is there a pellet parallel? And the short answer is no,
No,
No.
no.
and
Yeah.
that's all I
This is
wanted
new
to
to the
know.
yeah. This
Sorry,
is
sorry, sir. You got me in my Gears of War 5. Like, let me tell you the backstory of everything for 15 minutes mode.
all
So
right.
I apologize. The short
So
answer, no. I think they don't have a pellet in the book.
yeah. So the most that we do get out of Soren this episode though is just that firefight at the end. So they have a fun little firefight at the site where all of the elites are dead, but none of the humans are dead from episode 1. And then honestly, I was really hoping, I don't know why, but I was really hoping that when Kwan was talking about that vault and she was going to go over there, I was like, "Oh my god, is she going to open that and there's just going to be like a pile of civilian bodies in
That would have
there?"
been,
No, there was
would have been
not.
insane.
Yeah, there was no human bodies in sight.
Yeah,
Like she didn't
which
visit
was
like
weird.
her. Yeah, it was very weird. I guess they decided to clean up all the human bodies, but there's a bunch of dead elites just kind of sitting there rotting in the sun, I guess.
Yeah, you'd think the humans like venture because whatever they're mining on the planet, right, the fuel or whatever, they'd go back and use it and continue to mine, but they didn't. Apparently, they took their dead and left the elites. Yeah, it was weird.
They left the
Yeah.
elites so that he could go, oh, so these are what the aliens look like, and remind you that, oh yeah, there is a war that people know about that's going on.
Is
That's
it a war?
not this one.
Are the UNSC really at war with the Covenant?
In
We
this
don't
show,
know.
I don't
We
know.
haven't. Yeah, we've gone 7 episodes and seen 2 battles,
Yeah.
and barely any mention of them.
I was gonna say
outside
they're
of
not
that.
even really bad. Like one of them was battles, and the other one was just like a SWAT expedition for Maquis to make it to not Madrigal. I don't even remember what planet.
What?
Aridnus 2?
Aridnus, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, that's yeah. What else is there to say? Is there anything
So-
else in this episode that you guys thought was really goofy, other than Master Chief? Like, of course, he's in a vision, and yet he can't keep his helmet on for more than 2 minutes.
I
Or his
have
armor.
something really, really nitpicking, but that still bugs me.
What?
We're 7 episodes in, and Kwan is still wearing her bloody clothes.
That's true. She has yet to change clothing. We don't know how
She's
much
had-
time has passed, but it's definitely been several days.
She finally got a semi-bath too. Like she was just getting dirtier and dirtier. Like she had blood on her face, and then she had dirt everywhere, and then she
Honestly,
got like
Mhm.
that's
finally
that.
clean.
I'm not gonna lie, that's hilarious. Like, can we make that a meme? Like a Kwan doesn't bathe meme.
I don't know. Sure. Yeah.
She's just a sweaty basement nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
wearing the same bloody clothes that she wore at the start of the series.
it took her to episode 7 before she even just washed the crap off of her face. Let alone, I mean, she's still in the nasty clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as we know, she hasn't changed clothes at all.
Chief has cleaned his armor, and he's had plenty of blood on that, and he's had time to clean it.
Exactly. He's been through an entire battle where he got all dusty and all that.
Yeah.
Where
he
he got
cleaned it.
dusty.
He got dusty, he got bloody, everything, and he was able to clean all that off. But he is far more disciplined than Kwan is. So
Yeah.
that's why Master Chief deserves to be at the head of the Ha family instead of Kwan.
Yeah.
John Ha.
John
Ha.
Ha. John Halo. Oh my
John
god,
Ha-
the conspiracy.
Oh God.
So is it Hollow then?
Yeah.
Hollow.
John Hollow.
I wouldn't put it past 343 in Paramount.
Yeah. You're just expecting that level of crap now?
Honestly, that's
yeah.
what they've been giving us. Really.
Yeah.
That's fair. Hey, you sound like you've been liking it, Heather. I'm just saying.
Honestly, like, so you really have to separate yourself from Halo, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what I'm doing, right? Is like, this isn't the games that I played because it's Silver Timeline. They said that from the beginning, like, this is done. We don't care about the games. We don't care about the books. And I only know the games, really, and frankly, not even all the games, if I'm being 100% honest with you, right? So, like, my knowledge of the Halo universe is now null and void. So now I'm just watching it like a really crappy sci-fi. And for a really crappy sci-fi, like, my main complaints are writing complaints, right? Like, outside of that, like, I'm just taking it as it comes because at this point, it's not Halo. And actually, long before this point, it was not Halo. It's just Halo-esque.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what I was talking about leading into the TV series, is that it was going to be Halo in iconography alone. Like, you're going to have the right names. You're going to have probably some of the right planets and the ships and the, some of the things are recognizable, but that's all that it is.
That's
All right,
exactly
so
what you're getting.
Did you guys want to jump into scores for this, or is there anything left to talk about?
I'd like to quick mention there were no naked people in this episode.
I know we haven't had we haven't had ass cheeks in like 4 episodes now. This is really disappointing.
Bring back the cheeks.
They
I
set up a precedent and they did not deliver. They have not delivered.
I thought for a second we were going to get Soren's cheeks because he had his shirt off and it was like whatever when he was talking to his wife there at the rubble. Yeah, I thought for a second, oh, we might get some Soren cheeks here, but nope, we didn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of a little disappointing, right? We had like one episode no cheeks, like 3 episodes cheeks, and then last 3 we've been missing cheeks. Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
realize that like Soren's arm differences are much different? So like the one that's disfigured is like 3 times the size of the other one, just in the arm alone. Like not even just hand, like arm alone.
Mm-hmm.
That bothered me. I don't know why, but it bothered me.
Yeah.
It was like it just looks like you caked on makeup on that.
He kind of looks like a oh, what was it? A charger from Left 4 Dead
Kinda.
with the
It's
big
got the
meaty
little
arm.
arm and the big
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yep. Like with his big meaty Spartan arm.
Yep.
Just wait till the flood get in and he gets taken over by the flood, and then that arm does actually grow and he becomes a charger.
There you
Or
go. Ooh, that'd
he
be great.
impersonates the flood because he already looks disfigured.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, he could pull maybe he'll be like the Sergeant Johnson, getting off the ring, escape
Yeah.
the flood. If they ever get there. Like, who knows?
There's
I
probably
think
not
that-
even flood in this timeline. It's silver.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Paramount and 343 at this point, right?
They don't have the CG budget for it because they're too busy paying Pablo Schreiber to take his armor off.
Yeah. God, fuck. Oh man.
I'm
All
not
right.
spicy.
So Heather, what did you think of this episode? Was it fantastic or was it terrible?
I gave it like a one cheek way up.
What does that mean? One cheek way up.
I'm giving it like a 1 or a 2. Like it's not. It feels very disjoint. It feels like I don't care. Even in the sci-fi world, like I don't care about Kwan Ha. They've done nothing to build this for me. There's weird allegiances in the middle of it that like she sees Master Chief in that vision and she's like, "Oh, Master Chief. Like I'm suddenly your buddy," and all this kind of stuff. And there's all this stuff all this rapport, all of this like really lazy writing. Like I did not enjoy this episode. I spent more time making fun of it during the episode than watching the episode.
Yes, I think that's true for all 3 of us. Yeah, we were shredding this episode as it was playing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I had more fun doing that than watching this episode. So,
definitely.
It's like 1 territory, like 1, 2.
So, sell me on 1. Is it a 1 or a 2?
We'll give it a 1.
All right.
Not a fan. Would
Matt,
not watch again.
Matt, what did you think? You suffered through this twice, apparently.
Yeah, I for those that don't know, I usually watch this with you guys, and then I come home and I watch it again, and I take my notes that I used to during the recording. So yeah, I suffered through it twice, and honestly, I was gonna give this a 0 out of 10, but since my boy Chevy Tahoe was in it, and since we did get to see Chief smack around Kwan Ha, that did bring a tiny bit of joy to me because she's just a terrible character. So, so I'd give it a 1 out of 10. It was not good, and even the ending bugged me with Kwan and Soren because I swear she went for 7 episodes being this tantrum, rage filled person that just is going to be an awful leader, and now at the episode they kind of hint at 1, she'll probably stick around, and 2, she's like all calm and collected, and like I just feel like she's going to be around, and now she's going to be portrayed as this great leader and super awesome, and it's going to be bad. But yeah, long-winded, 1 out of 10. There you go.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna be about the same. 1 out of 10. I mean, it was an episode for a TV show. That was about what it was. Again, like I thought that, like, yeah, if this wasn't a Halo, this nothing about this felt like it was Halo at all. And this is incredibly disappointing for a series that has been like kind of teeter-tottering between like, oh, it's got some cool moments and then it pulls it back, and then it's got cool moments and then it pulls back, and then it's got some cool stuff and then it throws in Kwan Ha into an entire episode. And it's like, well, like, if this is how we're gonna go out, we only have 2 episodes left?
Correct.
Now? Yeah. We got 2 episodes left, and this was like a filler episode at episode 7. So this is incredibly disappointing. And what the hell? Like, I know
For,
it's 343, but it's episode 7. Come on, like, you gotta pay homage to that in some fashion. You gotta do something really special for the
nah,
7th episode.
they they
Come on.
they put up the first plasma grenade like stick in, and they had a monitor. Like, come on.
Wow. It was barely Halo. How she
Just,
knew how to use a plasma grenade, I'll never know.
yeah.
No one will ever know. It's not meant for you to know.
No.
Yeah.
That's the markings of a good leader right there. She
Right.
knows
That's
how
a
to fight.
Kwan. That's a Kwan tier leader.
Yeah, I'm really worried this is gonna be like a. This is gonna be like shoot, what's her face from Star Wars?
Ray.
Ray.
Ray. Yeah, it's
Ray
gonna be a Ray
Palpatine.
thing where she like I'm very worried that it's just gonna be like she's gonna download cheat codes on how to fight and then
Oh,
boom,
yeah.
now all of a sudden we can
Man.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna get
Like
she's gonna get augments like next episode, and then
I
she's
mean
gonna
they
become
kind
the
of
Master Chief.
set it up because desert magic.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
kind of already have started it, and it's gonna be awful. Like, not only is she not likable, now she just gets superpowers because
See,
desert magic.
just using your comparison, yes, there's no hero's journey, nothing is earned, and Kwan's just going to
Mhm.
get it. Most
I
likely.
know.
We'll see,
she
right?
skipped most of the hero's journey and just got to the destination.
But I
Yep.
will say, in a tiny little bit of defense of Ray, at least she was a likable character. I didn't like that she didn't.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't a fan of her just magically having the Force, but
Yeah,
I didn't
well,
like. How's this likable compared to Kwan? She is very much, there's a black and white difference there. Like, Kwan is awful. Ray was tolerable at worst or best. I don't know. Yeah. No. Yep. She's gonna be Kwan is gonna be Halo Space Jesus. So there you go.
Yep. Because desert magic.
Because reasons. Yep. Good thing she drank the water of life. She will now be the what do they call it? Dom Jabbar? I forget. What do they call
Whatever.
it?
I don't
Anyways.
remember.
Anyway,
I
so
digress.
we're wrapping this up. This turd has gotten way more love and polish than it's needed to. So we're gonna wrap it up here, and we're gonna call this a week. I think.
It works for me.
Thank you. All right, so you've gotten our reviews here. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us bitch about this episode of Halo the TV series. Now that you've officially listened to all of our, whinings and complainings about the Halo TV show and some musings by Matt about the Halo lore, be sure to check out our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com. Subscribe on YouTube if you're coming from there. Give us a like. We'd love to hear from you. Join us on Discord. We have a link to that on our website. We also have a link to our Twitter at CampGamePod, so be sure to give us a follow there and join in for all the fun things that Matt loves to talk about on Twitter. With that said, it was great hosting for this week's episode, regardless of the content of it. And we'll see you guys next time around the campfire.